Hello and welcome to another Vicki Boutin Mixed Media Wednesday. For the Vicki Boutin design team, I'm using the Mixed Media Ready to Use paper pad, which has mixed media that has been created by Vicki Boutin herself. And I'm going to use this one, and so we will have an analogous color scheme. Our focus this week for the design team, and there's the number for the paper pad, our focus this week for the design team is stamping. So here's the color Kaleidoscope stamp. I'll use all three sizes of the florals, and I decide that I want to heat emboss these in white on the white foundations paper from Vicki Boutin, because that is heavy 140-pound stock and it will withstand the watercolor that I want to create on these florals. This is my We Are Memory Keepers glass media mat, so I am using this glass mat as my watercolor mat. As you can see, there's already some. First I have to heat emboss these. I'm using a powder tool just to get all of any kind of stickiness off of that paper. Now I'm using a Versamark ink, and I think I use white Hero Arts embossing powder in white because it's a true white. It's not like a yellowy white. There's also one in the Moxie line from American Crafts that's a true white. So I will fill up this whole entire scrap piece of the mixed media paper, and I will fill it up with the stamped images so that I have enough to go down the entire 12-inch layout. Now I took off the larger floral and I'm just filling in the center portion where I have more room for stamping. I didn't want to waste that area, so I'm filling it up with the stamps. So basically I'm using stamping to create some pattern and some movement and also embellishment. So here I'm just going to use the heat tool and heat emboss these. That way this portion will resist the watercolor. I'm going to make sure I move it around and don't leave the heat tool in one area so don't scorch it. And just make sure it's completely melted. Now I can start watercoloring. I'll bring back the glass mat. I'm going to use the Vicki Boutin watercolor markers. And I'm filling her water brush. This is a brand new one, so I'm filling it with a water bottle. I just keep a spray bottle on my desk for that. Refilling stuff like this or adding it to your watercolor pans. So I'm using the sugared strawberry and a more watered down version, and then going back while it's wet and adding in the more intense. Right there I add more intense color. And this is super simple watercoloring, but I like adding more intense color in different areas because then when it dries, the watermark is left and you can really tell that it's hand watercolored. So I'm using the yellow, so I'm only using 2 colors of the markers, but I'll create the 3 colors because I'll mix the yellow and the pink to create a light custom orange or red orange. Now I laid it down, and while it's wet I'm adding in the pink so I get a nice peach color or light red orange. And I'll add some more yellow, and I love that this gives you full customization. You can completely design your layout around your photo. You can use the markers to create custom colors to coordinate with your photo. And that's what I'm doing. Now I'll go back, once these have dried a little bit, I'll go back and add some more intense color towards the center just to get a little bit more shading and more of that watermark look. Because I really like how that looks once this is dry. I'll show you. And at the end you'll get a close-up shot, and it really looks, you can really see the hand watercolored look. I'm just moving around to different flowers because I want to work with areas that are either wet or go back and add more intense color by creating or working while it's dry. So here on this yellow flower, I've gone back once that had a chance to dry. So I'm adding more intense pink and blending that towards the center so that it adds some nice shading. Right there, I'm adding some more intense pink color. And I'm happy with that. Off camera, I colored the leaves from the stamp set also, and heat embossed those and colored them with the Juicy Pear, which is lime green, and Watermelon Burst. So I used 2 colors so that I could get some shading and some watermarks on the leaves. And I created 5 leaves, an odd number. I'm just going to fussy cut these. There's no die for that. But Vicki has said that they only allow her to have 3 dies, so she picks the most common one, or the one that would be the hardest to hand cut. So these are really simple to hand cut since there's no curves. It's just basically one curved cut and another curved cut, and you're done. So this is not the photo I'm actually going to be using. I'm using it as a placeholder, and now I'm using the die that came in the Stampin' Color Kaleidoscope Stampin' Die set, and I'll just washi tape that. I believe I do this off camera, and then I'll fussy cut the rest of those. Just lining it up and using a tiny bit of washi tape that I've taken the tack off of. So here you see all the florals are cut out now. I'm placing them and using the sticker book, the Color Kaleidoscope stickers, to create the title. It'll say, "Enjoy Today, Life." And that label will hold the date and a tiny bit of journaling. Now I decide that I also want to use the floral stamps and the art crayon to create some stamping for the background and create some pattern and movement that way. And I'll carry the floral image kind of subtly to the background. Now I'm adding water with a water brush, but not so much that it's going to run off the block, just enough to make it a fluid consistency so that I can stamp in this. So I'll simply place that stamp in the art crayon, and I'll stamp yellow over yellow and red orange over red orange. And once again, I'm going to custom mix my colors there. I'll mix these 2 together to get a light red orange that'll go over the red orange portion, that stripe. I'm dabbing off with a dry paper towel. Now I'm going to the pink. The sugared strawberry watercolor marker. I can't find my magenta art crayon, and that's like the one I use the most, so I must have laid it out on my desk, but it's missing from my box. I'm like, that's why I had to use the marker. So I'll add the pink and the coordinating colors, and then I'm going to go back in with a smaller stamp and add some more. Since I really liked how this looked, I'm going to add some more of the art crayon stamping. There's the smaller floral, and I added more water just because I wanted a pooling. See how that pooled with the extra water? And I like that. It gives a subtle and a really artsy look. And this is super easy for you guys to recreate. And I like going over the mixed media ready to use paper in the background, those stripes that were printed on the paper. Now I'm going to use that color that's on the block and kind of create splatters with the water brush, just by squeezing the water brush enough to create some water flowing, and I just splatter it on the, because I didn't want to waste that and just wipe it off, so I'm using it to create the splatters. I'll just add some more red, orange, and yellow, and I'm deciding how much more pink I want. And if your splatters don't go exactly where you want, you can always just use the water brush directly and dab like that to create your own kind of faux splatter. It's got to go where you want it, right? But I like the random effect when you just splatter it. Okay, I'm going to dry this with the heat tool just so I can go on to the next step and I don't have to wait. And in my case, since I'm klutzy, I would probably stick something in the wet and then it would be on the another element on my layout. So I better dry it just to be safe. I've seen Jennifer McGuire say that if you've white heat embossed, you can reheat it and then it will bring that white back to the surface because the marker does cover a little bit of the white. I dried it with a dry paper towel, but it still was over, and you can see me trying to reheat that one. So I'm going to add some more of the pink watercolor marker, the sugared strawberry, and just create some more splatters at the top and the bottom. I just felt it needed a little bit more random splatters. And a little bit more of the pink splatters going off the top and the bottom of the stripes. It'll kind of soften it and create some movement. I'm going to heat that once again just so I don't. There's my photo that I'll actually be using, and here I'm using the Vicki Boutin stencils and color wheel pigment inks and a Scrapbook.com ink sponge dauber, and I'm doing the medium pink here, and then I will go back and create an ink blend by going with the magenta and the yellow. So you can create your own custom pattern paper this way. And I missed a few spots, so you just stick the stencil back on there and smush it again. And so I'll have 3 patterns that go behind the photo. This is the first one. And I like it horizontally better than vertically. I'm going to place back the florals and get everything in where it goes, in place on the layout. And I'm going to trim this down. I thought it was a little bit too big and too distracting, so I just trimmed down that stencil pattern. And I always like dots and florals, so now I'm going to use the magenta from the 6x8 paper pad. It's got like a leafy vine print, so that also works. And the leaves are the same juicy pear color, so I'll use this leaf pattern paper. Now that I have 3 patterns under the photo, I'm just going to punch a few of these leafy bits just to add a different texture. I felt like there was too much of same going on, like paper and paper, so I added the little punch bits to add a new texture. I'm going to add these on the layout with the American Crafts Express glue. That grabs really quick. I'll add that heart die cut and the sticker. So it was really easy to create the title for this layout because I just used the stickers. And once I'm also using some foam tabs from American Crafts, the sticky thumb foam tabs. And you'll see I raised up that large pink floral. I'm using the red line sticky tape also from American Crafts to adhere the pattern paper that will go under the photo. And once I get all of these adhered down to the layout, and I know that's where I want them, so I'm adhering them now, and then I will go ahead and adhere the patterns, and I stamp the date on that little label stamp, and then I'll just journal a real tiny portion. Now I realized I wanted a different texture, so I'm using the color Kaleidoscope epoxy thickers here, and the spring green color or the juicy pear hearts are perfect because they really stand out from the background stripes. And I'm not going to leave this heart there on the left. I like it here on the right, but in the final shot you'll see where I have placed it. And all I have to do is finish my journaling on that little tiny label, and I believe I'll open a new pack of the epoxy thickers so I can get some of the dark magenta hearts. I've already used them out of this pack. I'm adding some yellow tiny epoxy hearts. And there's the new package. I'm going to break that open and get the pink magenta heart there. And a Swiss cross or a plus sign over that pink stripe on the background. And another yellow epoxy sticker, and we're almost done. And now I'm going to use more of the red line tape to adhere those patterns under the photo. And I'd really love it if you'd like and subscribe. Thanks for joining me today for another Mixed Media Wednesday. Focus on stamping. Thanks, bye.